along the exit to Meachem, Oregon. And so this is a steep mountainous area, lots of uphill. And as I'm going up, I'm just realizing that the one thing that I wanted from my mother above all else was to have her tickle my toes, have her tell me that I was her special little guy, to fill me with that nurturing love. And as I became aware of that innocent desire, I could feel our Divine Mother doing that very thing, and I'm feeling the fulfillment of that experience coming into my being, and portends so many great and wonderful things to have the sacred child reconnected with the sacred mother, and the sacred father is there too, all cuddled up as a family. All is coming back to unity and wholeness. Ta-ta. All right, here we are. We're at the coast in Cannon Beach, Oregon. Beautiful, misty day, high vibes, good juju. And it's just getting better and better as we as a collective, and also through personal choices for our personal journeys, we're like embodying more and more of that juicy love that is our basic foundational energy. And love, you know, it just flows. It flows how it flows. You know, it's like when I left Boise, there was a certain idea, a certain framework that I thought was in the manifestation flow. And no, sorry, love had much bigger and better ideas. And holy shit, you know, just being here on this beach, I'm just like, you know, how could there be anything other than love? How could anything go awry when one is flowing with this pure, true love, wherever that takes us, however that challenges us to grow, however this challenges us to break down those barriers that have been part of this journey through separation, and how this is unifying us all, even if it doesn't quite flow the way that our conscious mind thinks that it ought to. So along the way here, my guides had me stop at this. Basically, it was just like, they're like, okay, turn here. And it was maybe 100 feet away. So I slowed down, turned down this little pathway. And then I just parked and walked the rest of the way down to this stream. And I'm walking across the ground, going through the stream, and there are two logs straddling the stream. They're like, okay, so we wanted to go onto those logs and cross. So I get on one of the logs and I start to cross, and so mind you, I'm barefoot, and so it's also raining, and like it's kind of slippery. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna slip off and fall into this stream. Oh wow! Oh, look at this! Oh, oh, oh. Wow! And so I get to a point where it's like, I don't want to go any further. It's like I can just see myself slipping off of this, falling into the stream, or hitting my head, and you know, going through that whole thing. So I'm just sitting there balancing my arms out, just like, okay, so align your body structure so that you are more in balance, placing the bulk of your weight in your feet. So I'm sitting there balancing myself, dropping some distance into the water, and then I'm just like, okay, so I feel like I'm really, really well balanced here. They're just like, okay, so we want you to turn around and walk back to where you just came from. breaking down those mental barriers to acting and being that pure true love that we actually all are. So slowly but surely I turn around and proceed back to, hold on, mushy mushy. Okay, so that was a synchronicity there. So I've got a Facebook friend in Hollywood, Florida, and I just received a phone call from there. So it looks like I've got to get someone I get to reach out to. Yay! So going back to the logs, so I proceed to the other log, and it's much more stable. And they're just like, you're stable enough on your feet that you could actually just walk at your normal pace, even run across this. So I trust, and I begin walking at my normal pace, and I make it across, and I'm just like, oh yeah, it's all good! Yay, I did it! and it's like, this is the energies of the moment. It's like, are we going to trust our inner guidance? Are we going to flow with that love that our guides are so lovingly opening us up to? And this could be beyond just our spirit guides. This could also be our ancestors. This could also be our star families. This could also be quantum fractals of ourselves that we're reintegrating with. And there's a myriad of other possibilities of where the guidance is coming from, beyond just the fact that it's coming from within the heart, within our divinity. So my trajectory is taking me down Coastal Highway 101. So this is like the northern coastal area of Oregon. My destination today will be to Depot Bay, Oregon. Apparently this is where whales like to congregate. I'm really looking forward to just experiencing the energies of this place. Even if I don't see any whales, it'll still be felt. And just the energies of that place in and of itself that would attract whales in the first place is very appealing, especially as one who has coding that interacts with the whales, that interacts with that deep wisdom and knowledge that the whale species holds space for and contains within themselves for this planet. And it's time to activate the source coding of the restoration of the wisdom of love that humanity, that this planet, that all the realms that intersect, that coexist, and soon to cohabitate once again in perfect divine union and harmony, as we are integrating more love and the matrix crumbles and falls to its knees. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Well, this is the final stretch of the journey back to Boise. This place is super, super duper sacred in the context that, so as I've gone through my journey and become more and more aware of where my quantum fractals or past lives, whatever you want to call them, have tread. And so I mentioned in the video I took at Snively Hot Springs, this is also an area that contains a hot spring that fractal of myself spent a considerable amount of time over at Snively. That quantum fractal of myself is actually buried right at the spot that the hot springs are at. So there's a river that runs through here, and it kind of forks and goes around a plot of land, making an island, and the hot spring is more like a pond, is right there. And I'll have to post a photo of this area, as I'm guided to simply not film that location. Oh, here comes somebody. Hold on. So, this whole journey, as my guides explained it to me, has been about connecting the energetics of the sacred sites in South America up here in the Pacific Northwest, here in Oregon and Washington, in the parts that I did go into Washington. And essentially, so my course got diverted. So initially I was planning on going up to Tacoma and visiting the Olympic Peninsula and all that, and my guides, and also with it being that I was we were intending to meet up with one another, went our own unique paths, our own unique ways. So I ended up fulfilling a bucket list item and traveling down the Pacific Highway coast, down the Oregon coast. So that was just spectacular. First of all, holy cow. If you ever have a chance to take the Highway 101 down Oregon or California, I highly recommend it. And it's like every time that I activated the source coding in that area and within myself, it's like I could feel pieces of the Lemurian civilization reconnecting back into the consciousness grid. So everything that the Lemurians did to not only preserve their civilization and the original records of humanity as humanity pertains to this planet, this world, that has now been anchored in, at least in the part that I'm playing in that reconnective process. So other beings working the energy grids that are putting their pieces together, the gold, so drawing reference to the traditional Japanese method of repairing their pottery using gold, well, it's all in place. So whoever feels like, hey, I've got a piece of the puzzle to click back into place in terms of restoring this world to its pristine beauty, the gold is there to hold and anchor in your respective piece. Okay, here's the river. Give yourself a moment to feel the energy here. Feel how sacred it is. Feel how calm and protective the reverence the land itself holds for itself. And so this is a great example for all of us who have gone through so much trauma and abuse, and never either was shown as a child how to hold that space for oneself, or otherwise were completely overran by those people that were around them as children and in the earlier stages of the emergence process, without so culminating in what could be termed as the wake-up experience. So as I began my trek back eastward, back to Boise, I was guided to go to a town called Grants Pass, which is in southwestern Oregon. And so I pull into the town. I'm just like, the whole area is just rolling mountains with tons and tons of trees, and it's just set in this little valley. And so I get off the interstate, and I find an Indian food restaurant. And so another travel tip: if you ever are in a small town in the middle of nowhere, such as Rawlins, Wyoming, where there's excellent Thai food to be had, Taste of India in Grants Pass is another one of those places that is super tasty, and it's just like, okay, there's this small town and there's like this amazing Indian food restaurant here. So I'm sitting there eating my lunch, and so I'm wearing a shirt with a Metatron's cube on it. And this gentleman walks up, and his name is Merlin. I'm just like, wow. Talk about a synchronicity, because right outside of Grants Pass, there's a town called Merlin that I was like, okay, I really want to go visit it. And my guides were like, yes, you do. Yeah, it's not in the path. Just go right to Grants Pass. And then I end up connecting with a Merlin. Oh, that was sacred. And, well, it's sacred again now, too. Yay. And so we just start talking, and it turns out he makes music, and I haven't had internet to actually check it out. It's very intriguing to me, though. I mean, he was just like totally pure in his in his desire to connect with people who are like displaying sacred geometry is one example. And so there was another gentleman that had caught his eye, and he was like, okay, well, I'm done talking to you, and I'm going to go talk to this other guy. And the funny thing is that, and the really awesome part is, like, for months I've been having visions of seeing and meeting somebody, and the guy that Merlin wanted to go talk to turned out to be the man in my visions. And man, he gave me so many pieces of the puzzle in terms of like consciously reconstructing the abilities that come with flowing with properly aligned geometries and mathematics in terms of like quantum travel and other things that we would term as superhuman abilities. And so I'm just totally getting galactivated by this gentleman, and it turns out he's like a tattoo artist. So after he was done eating, so I was done eating, I went over and started talking to him, and he took me to his tattoo shop, and man, he just totally tuned in, connected gentleman, and I'm just like, what a blessing to. So this is like a great example of just simply following the guidance, following the flow, and finding what it is that Spirit's like, okay, so these connections are going to help you, emerge even more, and also connect with more beings who are soul tribe. So in accordance with following that guidance, it was like he was in his flow, telling me so much about the sacred geometry and about his work and all that, and like I felt the energy shift, and I was like, oh well, it's time for me to go. And so I have little recourse but to follow that nudge. So we part company, and I get back on the road, and my course is to come to this beautiful spot. So there's the island that the hot springs are on. They're not guiding me to cross the river. So again, I'll find a photo of the area back there, and just over where that line of bushes is where I'm buried. So the question that comes for all of you watching this is, what will it take to allow yourself to be blasted out of whatever rut that you're in, so that you are in flow, in sync, and in alignment with divine will and divine intent for your sacred journey, for where you feel the most empowerment, the most fulfillment in your lives and in your journeys. Where is it that you can go within yourself that connects with the energies externally that activate you and help you feel your innocent purity, your divinity, come alive and wash away anything that may be stuck in the physical body's tissues that you've already resolved and that you've already dealt with. And at this point is simply the hooks that the matrix has within the physical body space, within the mental space, within the emotional space. So we're talking physical level purging of triggers as one example. Oh, there's a butterfly or dragonfly, one of those things. Oh, a fish. Hi, fish. I can tell you, I've been promised. I promised secrecy on like the exact parties involved. But what I can tell you at this point is that we are in process of experiencing the reconnection of all realms, and be open to whatever magic, whatever encounters you may have telepathically is where it's starting, at least it is for me, that reconnects you with the other beings, the other kingdoms that live on this world. And so we're talking more than just animals, plants, crystals, water, fire, air, earth, all of that. We're talking expand your thinking on that. That's all I can really say about that. So this is where humanity has taken responsibility for its actions, whether it be something that humanity in and of itself has miscreated or has been misguided into miscreating, or outright forced into miscreating. However it all works out, it's resolved, it's done. And so all parties involved that have either been, so the word that comes is victimized by humanity's imbalance or otherwise subjugated, that is what is coming back into balance and harmony now, as humanity is recognizing that, oh my God, I made a mistake, and the corrective action that we must take is already in process. The corrective action that we as a human collective must take is already in flow. So this is why it's ever so important to keep on following those nudges and keep on listening even closer within ourselves and bringing completion to that aspect of our journey, to the physical level, to our physically experienced external world, because it's already done within inside of us. This is why our physical bodies are purging in whatever way that they are purging. I'm going to leave you with the sound of this fork of the river. Maybe I can walk down a little bit and get more of the actual river. This is good, they tell me. Oh, yes. And if you're ever in Eastern Oregon, this place is just outside the town of Ventura along Highway 20. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening wherever you're at. If this video, if my travels have helped you in some way, or you simply feel guided to do so, please click on the PayPal link and the YouTube link, and also on the Facebook if you feel inspired to donate to help me keep doing this beautiful work that is so important to the world at this time. I love you so much. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.